Hey guys, and welcome to Petrol Ped. Now, ever since the Jaguar F Type was launched, and the first time I saw the car, I must admit, I had a bit of a love affair with them. I think they're a stunning looking car. And I'm sat in the new Jaguar F Type. And in this video, I want to ask a really simple question. Is this car good enough for me to continue my love affair with the Jaguar F Type? Now, it's thanks to Harwoods Jaguar Chichester that I've got this car today. This is actually their demonstrator. But it's also thanks to them that my love affair with the F-Type even started in the first place. It was a few years ago now. I actually had my Range Rover Sport in there for service because they're a Jaguar and a Land Rover service agent. And they had the new F-Type in the showroom, and I can just remember looking at it thinking, what a beautiful car, such lovely lines. And then when I started YouTube, one of the first, if you like, performance cars I got on the channel was the V6 Coupe. And then since then I've been lucky enough, I've pretty much driven every variant of F-Type, and therefore I'm in a pretty good position to judge this car on its merits. My summary of its predecessors would be, I think the V6 3 litre was maybe the best of the bunch. It was a little bit lighter on the nose, it sounded incredible, fantastic performance and really good bang for buck. The V8 5 litre R rear wheel drive was a proper handful, quite scary actually. And then I got my hands on the F-Type SVR, which I think probably is my favourite 4-wheel drive platform, more power. I like the styling, the sound from that all titanium exhaust was just fantastic. The thinking man's F-Type's probably the 2 litre 4-pot actually. It's still got 300 horsepower, and for many people it would tick all your boxes. It's certainly got the external looks and styling and interior, and it's got 300 horsepower, so it still went. It didn't have the soundtrack, but it was a fantastic car. And then very recently on the channel I finally got the complete set, if you like, when I drove the Project 7. And of all the F-Types, the Project 7 is the most special for so many reasons. What a car that was. So this has got, well, it's got quite something to live up to. So let's talk about the new F-Type. I want to ask you, is this car going to continue my love affair with the F-Type, or will there be anything missing? Have they missed a trick, or have they absolutely nailed it? There's a few things to talk about first off though. Now you would think I'm going to start this review with the styling, but I'm not. We'll get onto that in a moment. I actually want to start by talking about what's underneath the bonnet, because I've just said that for me the best all-round F-Type was probably the V6 in terms of handling, performance and certainly soundtrack. But sadly with this new F-Type they don't do it with a V6. You only have 2 engine options. Now the badges on the back, first of all you have a P300, which is a 4-pot 2 litre producing 300 PS or about 297 bhp. Or you can have a 5 litre V8. And you can start off with this one. This is the P450. This is really bridging the gap between the 2 litre and the 5 litre R. So this is P450, that's 450 PS, which is about 444 bhp. And then they do an R version of this, and the R version, well, that has 567 bhp. Now you can get that in rear wheel drive or all-wheel drive. So the car we're looking at here is a P450 all-wheel drive. But yes, very sad, no more V6. And I don't know whether that may be the first issue I have with this car. Maybe. Let's talk about the styling. Now I know styling and beauty is such a subjective thing. What's beautiful to one person is ugly to somebody else. But can you imagine getting this design brief? There's an F-Type, make it look better. I mean, that's like a plastic surgeon being asked to make Kate Beckinsale more beautiful. I mean, where do we even start? But I must say, the team responsible for this, I think, have nailed it. I really like the front end of this car. It has a lot of eye pace for me. The slightly lower profile, narrower lights, it's got a more sleek front end, it looks faster, it looks more aerodynamic. This grille seems to be a bit bigger. And you've got these nice kind of louvres under the bonnet. It's a different clamshell bonnet. I just think the front end of the car, it's quite different in a really, really good way. And when I saw it on paper, I was thinking, wow, that's quite impressive. They've taken something really nice and made it better. It's not quite the same story at the back of the car though. Yeah, at the back, I do struggle to see a great deal of difference, which actually isn't a bad thing. The lights are a different design. This is the V8, so we've got the 4 exhaust pipes on exit. You've got a nice bit of diffuser there. There's a pop-up aero spoiler. And the spec of this car, the colour of this car, by the way, is British Racing Green, and it's been de-chromed, so all the badges are black, which I think gives it a kind of menacing, quite edgy look. I like that. I must say though, I am a big fan of the F-Type SVR with the fixed spoiler. I'm not a big fan of this. I don't like the look of it when it's up so much. And I just think the car misses something without that spoiler. And I know a lot of people say it will have nicer, cleaner lines, but I do like an F-Type with a fixed spoiler on the back. But yeah, the rear, kind of if it ain't broke, don't fix it. And they haven't really done a great deal to it. So we have a look on the inside. Oh. Now then, for anyone who's been in an F-Type, it's a very, very familiar place in here. It doesn't seem to have changed a great deal. I still like the fact we've got this grab handle for when you're driving too fast and your passenger starts to need to hold on to something. The big difference, I guess, up front now you've got a TFT screen rather than analog dials with a whole range of different configuration options on there in terms of the dials that you see, where your nav goes and so on. You've got a touch screen, central screen. It's showing its age. It does have Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, which is a good thing in my view. And then we've got some proper buttons, but it kind of hasn't changed a massive amount in here. These seats, very, very comfy, very supportive. There's a good amount of leg room. I'm a tall chap, loads of headroom, and I like this pan roof. It lightens and airs the cabin, which is nice. There is a parcel shelf in the back there, which you aren't going to get a great deal of stuff in. And one of the big challenges for me, I very nearly pulled the trigger a couple of times on buying an F-Type. My big challenge is boot space. The boot's not too bad in terms of size. You certainly could go away for a weekend and so on, but with the dogs, we would really struggle. But I guess if you had one of these, you would live with that. The biggest challenge I have is I'd really like the convertible F-Type, and the boot in that is just so tiny, it kind of makes the car unusable for my lifestyle. But overall, the interior of this is a nice place to be, a nice choice of materials. This is the R Dynamic version. So we're looking at around about £75,000 for one of these. I guess depending on how much you spec or what kind of deals you get, you're going to vary around from maybe £70,000 to £80,000. The first edition ones of these are about £80,000. It'd be interesting to see what happens when they decide they're going to do an SVR version. That would be very, very cool indeed. But for now, this is it. So I think what we need to do is take the car out on the road for a drive and just probably talk more about the engine and the fact that this is a V8. That's going to put some people off straight away. What does it drive like? And then most importantly, this is an F-Type. What's it going to sound like? So here we are out and about driving. So a few basic checks. View over the steering wheel, check. View out of the rear view mirror, those big wide hips, check. But I think we need to address the elephant in the room, or my fear is it's more like a wheezy mouse actually. So whenever you jump in one of these, there are 2 buttons you need to push straight away. First things first, you need to push the noisy exhaust button. And secondly, you need to put it into dynamic mode. So the car runs in normal, dynamic, or it does have a kind of low grip mode for snow and wet weather conditions and so on. But I've got 4-wheel drive, so I'm in fully dynamic mode, fully noisy exhaust mode, and therefore I'm in a 5-litre V8 F-Type. Therefore, the thunder should be on its way. People should cower behind any kind of firm object they can find. These things have a reputation for sounding mega. So the big question is, does this one? Because when you're just under a low throttle at kind of mooching speeds, it doesn't really make a noise at all, to be honest. It's so smooth and delicate. But let's just take it up here. I remember taking the V6 coupe up here, and I remember opening the taps and just thinking, oh my goodness me. Okay, I might stick it into sport mode and I'll tell you what, it certainly goes. And it does make an alright sound on full throttle, beyond about 3,500–4,000 RPM. It does make a good noise for a modern car. But I think we have sadly seen, and that does sound alright actually, I think we have sadly seen the last of the really shouty V8s, kind of 2017. There's no pops and bangs and crackles, but now with on the paddles, I don't know. Do you know, it's not bad. I purposefully not got myself excited about what this car was going to sound like. On purpose, because I knew I've driven too many modern cars with all of the different OPF filters and all of the emissions regulations that manufacturers have to jump through these days. You just know that cars aren't going to sound like they did 3 or 4 years ago. And for some of you, that is probably music to your ears, quite literally, because they're not barky and shouty and over the top. But there was something about an F-Type, something about the noise an F-Type made, V6 or V8, that was very, very special. And if you're coming into this car expecting that, especially if you are a V6 or a V8 F-Type owner, I think you're going to be disappointed. If, however, you haven't experienced that, then this car isn't massively disappointing on the auditory scale. It's just not quite as barky and as shouty as it used to be. Okay, now we've got that one out of the way, let's talk about maybe more important things to some of you. I know when I did my 2-litre F-Type video a few years ago now, people moaned because all I did was talk about the noise or lack of. But this car has new suspension, it's got new steering, they've tweaked with the electronic diff at the back, so the handling and the feel should be quite different to the outgoing F-Type. And I must say, the first thing you feel when you get in the car is it feels really grown up. It soaks up the bumps of a British B-road beautifully, and it has a very nice feeling to it. A really nice feeling in the steering. Now, I'm not going to go hell for leather down this road, but what I will do is just that engine tone. What's quite interesting about it is the brutish thug of the old V8 has gone away, and it's been replaced by this more mature, more sensible. Something tells me maybe it just feels a little bit more powerful as well. I do think, though, we need to have a chat about losing the V6. I would really like to get hold of the 2-litre again. That car really did impress me, the previous version. 300 horsepower in any car is enough. I mean, I guess it's the same as I've got in my Mini. But I think maybe for some F-Type owners, it might not sound very much. But if you think about things like fuel economy and insurance and all of those types of things, maybe even company car tax, dare I say it, that's probably not such a bad thing. But then the step to go from a 4.2 litre to a 5 litre supercharged V8 for some is going to be a real challenge. For sure you get the power, you know, 450 PS, you get the soundtrack, but you also get the fuel economy. I'm currently averaging 24 miles to the gallon, which isn't great for some people, although for a V8 it's not bad. When you pull out of a junction and you can it's so smooth. So the transmission is an 8-speed ZF unit. It's very good in automatic. It's pretty good on the paddles. It's no double clutch jobby, but it's actually not too bad, and it's very smooth at what it does. So far, so good. So this car has 450 PS, will do 0 to 60 in 4.6 seconds and a top speed of 177 miles an hour. I think it's time for a 0 to 60 test, don't you? 3, 2, 1. Oh, hello! Now, I didn't use any launch control then. I literally just buried my foot on the throttle and it dug in just for a fraction and then it let rip. So as I think I've already demonstrated, 0 to 60 time in this car is pretty impressive, to be fair. And the top speed, obviously I'm not going to touch that today. So it is a really, really quick little car, this. And it has because of the four-wheel drive platform, it has a very sure-footed feeling about it. It gives you lots of confidence. It's a lovely dry, warm day today, so I don't really need to worry about loss of traction, but I can imagine this car as a proposition to run all year round would be right up there. But when you get into a nice little set of bends like this, and then out the corner, full down, you see, it's a pretty fast car, this. And it just flows. It's a silky smooth, flowing car, this. The steering feels nice. The turning, look at that, it's absolutely spot on. And then coming out of the corners, you've just got so much power and torque. When you get a nice flowing B-road like this one, this car puts a smile on your face. But yeah, I think the Jaguar designers have done a brilliant job freshening up the outside look of this car. On the inside, I don't think it's changed a great deal. And that's maybe not such a bad thing, because there wasn't too much wrong with it before. I think Jaguar do need to take a few steps and strides ahead on their infotainment system and just generally update it a little bit. It just looks a little bit tired now. But I don't have massive complaints on the inside. I just think if the designers that did the front end of the car had tried as hard on the inside, it would have been even better. And it had the rear of the year anyway, so no great disappointment that the back end doesn't look too different. But yeah, so final impressions are the new F Type. The love affair continues. Very, very much the love affair continues. I have to say a massive thank you to Dan and all the guys at Harwoods Chichester Jaguar for reaching out to me, offering me the car. Guys, I hope you've enjoyed it. I'd love to know what you think of the new F Type. Put in the comments below. But if you've enjoyed this film, please give me a thumbs up. Comments below are always welcome, and if you haven't done so already, please subscribe to Petrol for plenty more content to come. And from the very comfy, very sporty and better sounding than I thought, but still not sounding as good as I'd hoped, new Jaguar F Type. I'll see you on the next film, guys, but you take care. Drive safe.